As the war between Israel and Hamas rages on, with Hamas firing rockets into Israeli territory and Israel retaliating with airstrikes on Gaza, the international community is closely watching the conflict. While many countries have condemned Hamas's actions, there are also some countries that have openly expressed their support for Iran, which is believed to be the mastermind behind Hamas's attack. In this video, we will discuss these countries and their reasons for supporting Iran. Before we start, please like and subscribe for more updates. Pakistan. Pakistan has been a long-standing ally of Iran and has consistently supported it on various international issues. During the recent United Nations Security Council meeting on the Israel-Hamas war, Pakistan called for an immediate ceasefire and expressed deep concern over the humanitarian situation in Gaza. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari stated, "Pakistan believes that the current cycle of violence must be contained and an immediate ceasefire, brought about to protect civilians and prevent further loss of life." He also emphasized the need for a just solution to the Palestinian question and highlighted Pakistan's commitment to the Kashmiri cause. Zardari's remarks reflect Pakistan's traditional support for Palestinian rights and its condemnation of Israel's occupation of Palestinian territory. However, Pakistan has faced criticism for its stance on the issue. Some argue that Pakistan should have condemned Hamas's attack on October 7th directly instead of calling for a ceasefire. Others criticize Pakistan's failure to take a stronger stance against Iran, which is seen as the main threat to regional stability. Despite the criticism, Pakistan remains committed to its position on the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territory. Iraq. Iraq has been another country that has openly supported Iran during the conflict. Following the October 7th attacks, Iraqi officials condemned the Israeli airstrikes on Syria and called for restraint. The Iraqi government expressed concerns about the impact of the conflict on regional security and stability, and called for all parties to exercise restraint and prioritize civilian lives. This statement reflects Iraq's long-standing ties with Iran and its desire to maintain good relations with both Iran and Israel. However, Iraq's position on the conflict has been complicated by domestic politics. Many Iraqi citizens have expressed solidarity with the Palestinians and called for the Iraqi government to take a stronger stance against Israel. The influence of Iran and its allies within Iraq has also added to the complexity of the situation. Despite the internal divisions, Iraq has condemned the Israeli airstrikes and called for restraint, signaling its support for Iran. Syria. Syria is closely aligned with Iran and has provided it with military and logistical support in its conflict with Israel. On October 28th, Syrian state media reported that Israeli airstrikes had targeted the Aleppo International Airport, causing significant damage. The Syrian government condemned the strikes and accused Israel of violating international law and the sovereignty of Syria. This incident highlights the close relationship between Syria and Iran and how it allows Iran to use Syrian territory to attack Israel. Despite international pressure, Syria continues to host Iranian forces and allow them to operate within its borders. This support enables Iran to project its power into the region and counter Israeli influence. However, the extent of Syria's support for Iran remains unclear, and it is possible that Syria is feeling compelled to side with Iran due to its own conflicts and dependence. On Iranian aid, Lebanon. Lebanon has also come under scrutiny for its support of Iran during the conflict. On October 26, Hezbollah, a powerful Iranian-backed group in Lebanon, fired missiles at Israel in response to the Israeli airstrikes on Gaza. The attack caused widespread condemnation and calls for Lebanon to take action against Hezbollah. However, the Lebanese government has been reluctant to take a strong stance against Hezbollah, which is considered a political and social movement within Lebanon. This hesitation reflects the complex internal dynamics of Lebanon and the influence of Iran and its allies within the country. Despite the calls for a more robust response, the Lebanese government has condemned Israel's attacks on Gaza while maintaining a relatively neutral position on the broader conflict. This stance has drawn criticism from some quarters, including the United States, which has urged Lebanon to hold Hezbollah accountable for its actions. However, the Lebanese government's position is likely influenced by domestic considerations and the potential impact on regional stability. Yemen. Yemen is another country that has openly supported Iran during the conflict. The Houthi rebels, who control much of Yemen and are backed by Iran, launched missile and drone attacks against Saudi Arabia in retaliation for the Saudi-led coalition's airstrikes on Yemen. These attacks highlight the ongoing conflict in Yemen and the role Iran plays in supporting the Houthi rebels. Despite international efforts to end the conflict in Yemen, the situation remains volatile, and the presence of Iranian-backed groups continues to raise tensions in the region. The Houthis attacks on Saudi Arabia have caused significant damage and loss of life and have been condemned by the international community. However, the Houthis actions are seen as a way for Iran to exert its influence in the region and counter the Saudi-led coalition. Turkey has taken a strong stance against Israel during the conflict, calling for an end to the violence and expressing solidarity with the Palestinians. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has been a vocal critic of Israel, denouncing the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territory and calling for a just resolution to the conflict. However, Turkey's position on the conflict has been shaped by domestic politics and its own conflicts in the region. Turkey's support for Palestinian rights has been long-standing and dates back to the early days of the conflict. However, Turkey's decision to restore diplomatic ties with Israel in 2016, after a 6-year break, was seen as a strategic move to improve its economy and regional standing. Despite the restoration of ties, Turkey has continued to criticize Israeli policies towards the Palestinians and has called for a two-state solution. Nevertheless, Turkey's overall position on the conflict remains complex, and its actions have been influenced by a range of factors, including domestic politics and economic interests. The United States has been a steadfast ally of Israel since the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. The U.S. provides Israel with significant military and financial aid, and has consistently supported Israel's right to defend itself against external threats. However, the U.S. has also been a key player in diplomatic efforts to resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The U.S. has hosted numerous peace talks between Israel and the Palestinians, and has served as a mediator in previous conflicts. Despite its close relationship with Israel, the U.S. has also criticized some Israeli policies towards the Palestinians, such as the expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank, which is considered illegal under international law. Nevertheless, the U.S. has consistently supported Israel's right to exist and its right to defend itself against external threats. The U.S. has also condemned Hamas's attacks on October 7th and has stood in solidarity with Israel during the conflict. However, the U.S. has also called for de-escalation and a return to calm to prevent further loss of innocent life. Russia has condemned the Israeli airstrikes on Syria and called for restraint. The Russian Defense Ministry accused Israel of undermining regional stability and causing casualties among the Syrian army and civilians. This incident highlights the complex relationship between Russia and Israel and how it could affect the wider conflict. Russia's support for Syria and its close ties with Iran have raised concerns about Russia's intentions in the region and its potential to escalate the conflict. Despite these concerns, Russia has condemned the Israeli airstrikes and called for restraint, signaling its support for Syria and Iran. These countries support Iran for various reasons, including long-standing alliances, religious ties, and strategic interests. While some countries have condemned Hamas's actions, others have criticized Israel's occupation of Palestinian territory and its airstrikes on Gaza. As the conflict continues, it remains to be seen how these countries will respond and what impact they will have on the outcome of the war. It's important to note that the situation is rapidly evolving, and these countries' positions may change over time. Additionally, there are other countries that have condemned Hamas's attacks and expressed support for Israel, such as the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia. It would be interesting to explore the perspectives of these countries as well to get a more balanced and comprehensive understanding of the situation. Overall, the international response to the conflict between Israel and Hamas is complex and multifaceted, with countries taking different stances based on their own interests and priorities. That's all for today. Please like and share for more updates. Thank you for watching.